Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today I'm going to be joined by Lenny Edmonds. Together, we're going to be talking about the world of sports. Nick and Ronnie are still on assignment, and honestly, we don't know when they're going to be back, but I hope it's soon. A lot of stuff going on in the sports world over the weekend, Lenny. The college football bowl season in full gear. We had the famous Idaho Potato Bowl that was recently played. You got the Frisco Bowl coming up between San Diego State and Texas San Antonio. Some signings of baseball, Major League Baseball offseason, and Bill Belichick apologized to reporters for being rude. What was your big takeaway for the sports weekend, Lenny?
Well, yeah, the Frisco Bowl up in the Bay Area, that sounds pretty interesting. But honestly, headlines really don't interest me. As an in-depth analyst, what does interest me are the full in-depth articles. And, I just haven't had time to read any of those in this last week. I've been just super busy with my analytics.
And I can understand how you have these complex issues that you have to deal with, and you don't always have time for the mundane type of things. For me, I did want to point out that there's been a lot of problems going on in the sports world with this COVID health crisis that the whole country is in. The National Hockey League has suspended their games until they can get the situation under control. In the NBA, you got replacement players that are being signed to replace those players that are on the COVID list, and there's a lot of them. There was even talk about the NBA temporarily suspending things. It's that bad. But despite that, the games have gone on, and I wanted to give you my NBA top five. A little different this week, and that the top three teams are all from the Western Conference, starting with number one, Golden State, followed by number two, close on their tail, Phoenix, both teams over 20 wins. Number third, the Utah Jazz, playing really, really good, and I have to put them in the top three. Brooklyn Nets, number four, and Chicago Bulls, number five. So that's my NBA top five. We'll talk some more sports, and then we'll come back after the break. Okay, well, Lenny, we are back, and I wanted to talk about what happened in the NFL over this past weekend, recap some of the important games that were played. Have to mention, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing to the New Orleans Saints, in fact, being shut out 9-0. It seems that Tampa Bay cannot beat the New Orleans Saints. Another game that got a lot of attention, of course, was the Detroit Lions upsetting the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, a couple of weeks ago, were the team to beat in the NFL. They've since lost 2 games in a row, and people don't know what's going on out in the desert. Other game that caught people's attention was the Baltimore loss to the Packers. Kind of controversial. The Ravens coach, Harbaugh, decided to go for a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Rather than kick the extra point, settle for a tie, and maybe an overtime. It didn't work. The Ravens fell short and lost the game 31-30. And I have to mention my Chargers loss at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime. A lot of missed opportunities and a lot of questions about the coaching decision by the Chargers head coach, Brandon Staley, who kept going for it on 4th down and repeatedly failing, leaving a lot of points off the board. He might have kicked 3 or maybe 4 field goals, and that might have been a difference in the game. I'm not questioning the coach. That's the way he plays, but that was a tough loss. Lenny, what do you make about some of these coaching decisions that these coaches are making in these games?
You absolutely should be questioning their judgment. Those examples you raised are clearly not sound decisions. Coaches need to think outside of the box instead of doing these predictable things, or sometimes they're unpredictable, but they're wrong. Now, in a 4th down situation like the one you described, you know what a great call would have been? Some of you old schoolers might remember the Statue of Liberty play, the one in which a quarterback fakes a pass, he holds the ball up here, running back comes behind him, picks the ball and runs off with it. Now, that's a play that was explained in great detail in a Brady Bunch episode once.
This is our line. Jackson, Metzger, Cyril, rock. Metzger snaps the ball back to left guards. The lefty fades back like he's going to throw a long one. And that's when the old tanker comes flying by and grabs the ball. The crowd went wild.
But I think you guys get the gist of it. And now your question, I know, Professor, is going to be what's the science behind what I'm talking about here, right? Well,
Exactly.
It's this. Statistics, as you know, are used in science. And statistically, there are exactly 0 defensive coaches in the NFL who have trained their teams to defend themselves against the deadly Statue of Liberty play. So the element of surprise would absolutely stun them. I mean, my only problem with that play is the way it's named after the Statue of Liberty, because if you've ever seen that statue, the arms extend way up it. So if that was a football there, it'd be way too high to grab the ball, and the position in the arm isn't the same. So I don't think it's a good name for the play.
Maybe modified Statue of Liberty.
Perhaps modified, but Willie, she isn't even handing the torch off to somebody. She's just holding it. So there's another place where the metaphor kind of breaks down.
I have to talk about the NFL playoff picture and break down the latest on where the teams are these days. Some of the teams in the league, unfortunately, have really fallen off the rails. Things fell apart in Jacksonville. They ended up firing their coach. The Bears had one of the worst games of their season the other day. It was terrible. Their coach is probably going to get fired next. What can you say about the Jets? But there are a bunch of teams that are still in the playoff picture, and I wanted to mention them. In the NFC, you've got the number 1 team now, the Green Bay Packers. They're 11-3. Aaron Rodgers, he looks like he's going to be the MVP this year if he keeps this up. Number 2, you got Dallas at 10-4, followed by Tampa Bay at 10-4, and then the 4th team, the Arizona Cardinal, out of the West. The wild cards, you have the Rams, the number 5 team, number 1 wild card, 49ers, number 2 wild card at 8-6, and then the Vikings hanging in there at the number 3 wild card. As far as the AFC goes, you have number 1, the Chiefs, the hottest team in the league. They are now 10-4. They're number 1 seed. New England, number 2. They've fallen a little bit, but they're still up there, 9-5. And then you have the Tennessee Titans, number 3, followed by the now surprising Cincinnati Bengals at number 4. The number 1 wildcard team, a little bit of change here. Indianapolis is now in the number 1 spot. The Chargers had dropped a spot to number 2. And then the Buffalo Bills are number 3. Lenny, if you look at the playoff picture, which one of these teams do you think is not going to make it? Which teams do you trust the least to make it into the playoffs?
Well, good question. Look, the nature of the NFL, and this is what keeps it interesting, is that on any Sunday, the worst team in the league can beat the best team, right? We all know that. But here's what nobody talks about. The 23rd best team can still beat the 14th best team. The 6th best team, of course, can beat the 11th best, as expected. But historically, now here's where it gets interesting. No time in which after that's happened has the 6th best team made the playoffs, unless they've also defeated both the 21st best team and the 27th best team. And that's only happened once. So I've taken a look at the standings thus far in this season, done the calculations, and it's clear to me, statistically, that any team that hasn't been mathematically eliminated still has a shot to at least make the playoffs, right? But I know your question is, it's the inverse of that, what teams won't make it? And I can tell you, that's a pretty easy one. Houston, Jacksonville, Chicago, Detroit, they literally don't have a chance.
I think that most fans would agree with you on that, Lenny. Thanks a lot.
Well, as always, this is our favorite part of the show of all. It's where you viewers put us sports experts on the spot, hence the name of the show. This week we received somewhere under 75 questions, and we decided to pick one that has a little bit of a bite to it. It's from our viewer, Bills Fans for Life. That's his real name. So he or she asks, is Tom Brady a poor loser crybaby? Wow, some harsh words, Willie. So, is he?
Well, I know where this question is coming from. Most people who follow the NFL saw what happened to Tampa Bay over the weekend. Brady had one of the worst games that he's ever had as an NFL professional. They said that he hadn't been shut out in some 255 games as a starter. That's going all the way back to 2000 and I don't know why, when he was 29 years old. I can't do the math. You can do it, Lenny. Yeah, he was flustered. He threw some interceptions. He was caught cursing at the Tampa Bay sideline using the F word. I can't say it here. Then later, when he was looking at some plays on his Surface tablet, he was so disgusted he threw the tablet into the bin. And if the tablet wasn't already broken, he completely smashed it to smithereens. He looked like a crybaby in that situation. But I don't think that he did anything wrong. He's a fierce competitor. He hates to lose, and I think it's okay for the guy to show his emotions like that. Nothing wrong there.
Yeah, I don't know. My understanding is that this Brady guy you're talking about he's one of the top 20 quarterbacks in the league, and yeah, so he's obviously competitive. And I didn't see the game because I was watching the some pro bowling replays, which were very good, by the way. Just fun. But as you said, I did read something about him, the obscenity, which doesn't really bother me, honestly. We all let loose with a phooey now and then. But the tablet does concern me a little bit. I guess it was a digital tablet, but I'm not sure that you're right in saying it was his tablet. I think it may have been somebody else's. And if it was like an iPad, those things are sturdy. They can withstand a drop, but not the kind of throw you're describing, especially from a professional quarterback. But if it was somebody else's iPad, look, this Brady guy probably makes $500,000 a year, and he should definitely buy that guy a new tablet, and not to mention offering an apology.
Not to mention that it was probably his best throw of the day, so I can't forget that either. Well, thanks for that, Lenny. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, and I have to say goodbye for the show. I want to remind everybody to like, comment, and subscribe to the show if they have an opportunity. Again, if you have any Sports on the Spot questions, you can submit them to the sportsonthespot@gmail.com, or just ask the question in the comment section of our YouTube channel, and we will get to them. It might take a while. We got 75 this week. Who knows? Might get 175 next week.
Well, somewhere under 75.
Somewhere, well, that's still a lot. So it might take us time to leap through all of them, but we will. Once again, thanks a lot for watching. We'll have a good week, and we'll see you all next time.
Unbelievable.